Welcome back to Timo's Dinky and Diecast. Today I'm going to be doing a Corgi Shadow Ford. It's a GP Grand Prix race car from the early 70s. And this car used to have UOP labeling on it. Ford Cosworth engine. I think they raced for 2 seasons with these. This one I'm going to be turning into a Canada Day car. I used to have one of these in perfect condition, and I don't know where it is. It disappeared. I found this one in a flea market. All the stickers are off, but the toy's in pretty good shape. It doesn't have much damage at all, other than the stickers and the glue from the stickers still being on it. And it's filthy. So on the bottom, it looks very clean. It hasn't been played with much. You would expect the bottom to be scraped. It hasn't been rolled around a lot. The wheels are plastic, or the tires are plastic, and they seem to be almost like new. So it's funny that otherwise the thing is in such good condition, but the stickers have all been peeled off. So first thing I got to do, there's like 4 rivets on the bottom here. And so I'm going in with the Dremel tool and this tiny little carbide burr. And I'm doing that almost on every vehicle now. It's rare that I'll use the drill and try and clamp this thing in the vise in the milling machine like I used to. And you can see from the shape of the car that it doesn't really, it wouldn't do well trying to clamp it into a vise. So using this little burr, that made all the differences, these little carbide burrs. So there I got the heads off of all those rivets, the rivet posts, and the parts come all apart easily. There's a lot of dirt on this model. You can see on that axle there was something there. Now these chromed plastic parts, there's a little bit of wear in a couple places, but for the most part there really isn't much that's very visible. On the bottom there's some, but on the top it looks pretty good, and I think I'm just going to leave them as they are. There's a lot of dirt on them, and it looks yellow as if it's peeled off, but I know when I wash it, it's gonna look better. So here we got our driver in here, Graham Hill perhaps. We'll pretend that it's Gilles Villeneuve. He would have been racing at that time. He didn't race in this car, but anyway, the driver is in really good conditions. There's nothing scratched on the paint on him. He's just very dirty. And here's the rear wing. All of it looks pretty good, pretty filthy, but otherwise the toy isn't very much damaged. The paint is chipped here and there, but it looks in good shape. I won't have to do really much of anything other than to strip it and paint it. Windshield is solid black plastic, and there's another rivet there. I could take that turbo scoop off the top, but I'm not going to, don't need to. So I go on the drill press, and a piece of wood, block of wood, and then I've got a post standing there so that the toy can't spin around. Somebody pointed out that it's dangerous if you go drilling like that and you've got this sharp piece of thing that could spin around. So I put a post there so it won't allow it to turn. So I've drilled out with a 46 tap drill for 440 button socket head cap screws. And I'm using this tap. This tap is a spiral flute tap. The spirals make the swarf come out the top instead of being pushed down in the bottom. And also, when you use hand taps, you have to back them up every turn. You back them up a quarter turn. Not with this. This is a machine tap. You can go full depth, and you don't have to ever back it up. And now I plug all those holes with cap screws. Some of them have been painted previously. And I do that before stripping and painting because it protects the threaded holes from damage that would otherwise make them not work. You can see I'm filming this way early. It's in the middle of winter. and it's lots of snow on the ground. And I got nothing else to do, which is perfect timing for me to do the Canada Day toy, because usually by the time Canada Day rolls around, I'm doing a lot of outdoor work, outdoor maintenance, gardening. But here I'm doing it in the winter and it's snowing. That was quite a snowy winter we had. So now that the paint is stripped off, I go to the drill press again. This time I have the wire wheel on there, and I'm taking off all of the rough surface, the oxidated surface, so that it'll be nice and smooth for paint. Now I'm going to be painting these first with primer. I've got to hold this thing somehow, and I'm having trouble finding a place to put one of this clamp on here. Okay, there, it looks like I found something that looks like it's going to work. It's a bit of a trick. Yeah, sometimes it is a bit difficult to find a spot so you can hold on to the thing and be able to paint everything and not have some part that's obscured. So this is just the primer. It also gets a coat of white paint, but I didn't film doing the white paint. I figured I could just show you the primer, and it looks the same thing if I'm painting the white paint on it. Now after the white paint, I've got to go for a Canadian look. I got the idea for the inspiration for this from the 1972 Team Canada hockey jersey when the Team Canada played the Soviet team. That was a very big thing. I remember I was in public school, and the games were on during the day, and especially when they were in Russia. And we sometimes had the TV in the classroom, and at recess we followed it. Everybody gathered around the teacher that had a radio playing the game. So we all followed that in '72. So that's from the hockey sweater. I mean, I've interpreted it quite a bit, but still, that's the look, and I think I achieved it pretty good. I have to say that the hockey series was that was a very patriotic thing from my youth. Everybody in the country was following that. So here we've got our driver, Gilles Villeneuve, and he's been cleaned, and he looks absolutely perfect. It looks like it just came out of the factory. There's no damage at all. The paint is just great. He looks fantastic. Now these parts, they're pretty dirty, so I'll just take those away and wash them. And with like magic, I come back right away, and they look good enough for me. They're not perfect. I don't want to try and spray them or do something else. They're good enough. And same thing with the windshield. I just basically washed it. And the wheels, like magic, I come back, and they're wet and they're clean. So that's pretty fast to get to this stage of reassembly. It's a very simple model, and there's not really much to do with it. It's a bit of a trick. These models are pretty complicated in the 70s, and so they're with a lot of parts. You got to get the parts in the right order. And I had a bit of trouble. I'm just showing you the version of reassembly that worked out well. I did one where I put all this stuff together and I forgot to put the axles in, so it was a car without wheels and I had to take the whole thing apart. But I'm not going to show that. It's unnecessary, although maybe if you request it, I'll put out a blooper reel or something. It was funny when I was watching, going, wait a minute, what's going on? I didn't put the axle there. Here you can see I'm doing some pretty fancy manipulation. I only have two hands, so I've got my left hand holding the model, has to hold the model while I'm using my pinky and the second last finger to help my right hand put this front axle together. There was a jump because that's where I'd put the base on without the rear axle. So when it's all in the right order, that's the other thing. If you can almost put the whole thing together in the wrong order, but then when you try to put the screw in, it won't fit. So there we have it. Now I painted these screws. Sometimes nowadays I've been replacing them with brand new silver ones, but I painted these, and when you look at the bottom, I think it will look better because the bottom is painted like the upper part of the body. It's white and red, even right down to the decoration, the spiky maple leaf decoration on the bottom. I guess in case the car flips upside down, you'll still see it still look decorated. Now here's the point of the car. Tim Hortons, of course, is a famous company. Tim Horton was a hockey player. He played for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was a defenseman. I believe he was on the team in 1967 when I watched them win their last Stanley Cup. But Tim Horton started a donut shop. It was a good idea. I guess his accountant said, you know, you're making money now. Soon you'll be retired, and then you've got to invest in something that's going to make you money. So he made a coffee shop with fresh donuts. Back then they were fresh. They mixed up the dough, they fried them up in the store, and they were great. And it became very popular. In fact, Tim Hortons is the most popular restaurant of any kind in Canada. It is more popular to the second place, McDonald's. There are more stores in Canada of Tim Hortons than there are McDonald's. So that tells you how popular it is in Canada. You can get Tim Hortons in upstate New York, in Buffalo, for example, or Niagara Falls, because Tim Horton, when he died in a car accident. He had bought a Pantera driving on the Queen Elizabeth Way from Toronto, where he lived, to Buffalo, where he was traded, and he was playing in Buffalo at the time that he drove off the highway into a pole, and sadly passed away at a young age. But he was a Buffalo player, so if you want a Tim Hortons, they've got lots of Tim Hortons in the Buffalo and upstate New York area, and apparently they even have one in New York City. But most of the rest of the United States doesn't know anything about Tim Hortons unless they've visited Canada. So I think that Tim Hortons is perhaps the most iconic company right now in Canada as a Canadian company. And it is interesting that it's a kind of fully Canadian. I think they've been bought out now, but they started out as a Canadian company, and they haven't really spread through the U.S. It's really a very, very Canadian thing to go to Tim Hortons. Of course, when I'm flying south to Florida to visit my son, we drive to Buffalo because we get cheap flights, and it's way easier crossing the border in your car than at the airport. So we drive to Buffalo, and in the Buffalo airport, they've got a Tim Hortons. So we can go there and get us a nice, wonderful Tim Hortons coffee. You can see the trick I'm using for putting on these tiny decals onto the wheels. I've got a bigger, the backing paper is way bigger than the decal. I cut the decal, I trimmed the decal with a sharp X-Acto knife, just the plastic part of it, so I leave the paper, so I can hold the paper with the tweezers and pull out from under the decal. And you can see that little piece sticking out when I'm doing this flag. And it's very hard to do it unless you do that, so it's an important trick that I figured out. Maybe everybody else knew it already and I had to just figure it out on my own, but now I do it pretty much on every decal that I put on a model. Just makes life way, way easier. So here's to remind you of where we started. So this is the Shadow Ford Grand Prix race car from 72 or so, and it's not really damaged, but the stickers have been taken off of it. So let's see what it looks like now. Alright, I think that's a pretty spectacular transition. I think the car came out beautiful. I'm really pleased with it, and I hope you all are too, and we'll celebrate our Canada Day. I can't call it Dominion Day because this is from 72, so we already had Canada Day, and we didn't have the red ensign with the Union Jack in the corner. We already had the maple leaf flag that you see flying here on this race car. But I'm still going to play the Maple Leaf Forever instead of O Canada because I just think it's a way better national anthem song. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Timo's Dinky Detailing, and Timo's Dinky and Diecast, and I hope you all enjoy your Canada Day, or as I would previously call it, Dominion Day, but at this point it was called Canada Day for sure. So until next time, be seeing you.